This will be a two-parter. It'll start with Kevin Smith and Clerks, and then we'll get into Kingsman. I was shocked to know that you didn't see Clerks 2 from how you were talking about Kevin Smith, since that's the first film I ever saw of his.
Cool.
I figure we'll go in each part. We'll start with like, how do we find this film or this filmmaker, and then we'll get into more. But I'll start so you can get some time to be like, where did I see Kevin Smith for the first time?
Yeah.
Kind of deal.
Well, that was Clerks 1. So
Clerks
I have seen
1?
the first one. It's just not the second one.
Nice. That
Yeah.
I hope Kevin Smith never hears that, but now I understand why you didn't see Clerks 2. I don't like Clerks 1 very much. And now, goodbye, everybody who likes Kevin Smith. I'm so sorry.
Hey, honesty is king.
I do need to see it a second time, but I love Clerks 2. And I think there would have been less of a chance of me looking for Clerks 2 if I had seen Clerks 1. Anyway.
Okay.
I saw Clerks 2 because I was working in a movie theater and at the time, so I saw it free, and they had these huge banners, and you saw like Silent Bob and Jay and Rosario Dawson in Clerks 2, and hers said open for business, and it was like a pretty like looking, trying to appeal to that 18-year-old market. And I probably was like, she is beautiful. And also, that's hilarious. Open for business. So I checked it out, fell in love with the movie. It's still my favorite Kevin Smith movie. But then when I moved to California a few years later, I remember getting obsessed with two things in terms of movies. One was missing the original Star Wars trilogy. So I ordered Blu-rays of that. I had seen them all on VHS, and I didn't know they had special editions later. So I literally popped it in, saw that first horrible CGI creature, and I was like, oh, it's defective. Send it back to Amazon. This doesn't work. But then the other thing that I got obsessed with was Kevin Smith. I literally bought every like DVD, Blu-ray, his stand-up specials at the time, went through everything. And since I was in California, he had a couple podcasts that he filmed publicly. My favorite place to go was Universal City Walk, and he would film at the then John Lovitz Comedy Club with Ralph Garman doing Hollywood Babylon. To add a little more color, I worked in an adult film store and midnights while I was out there. And for some reason, me and one of the coworkers were like, we could make an adult shop online. We didn't. We sold nothing. We tried. We sold nothing. But the first time I went there, I think, I was, of course, first in line, hours early, and Ralph Garman, his co-host, was obsessed with reality television. And if you're listening on audio, I did very obnoxious quotes. So like Octomom, whoever in Kate Plus 8, I don't remember the guy's name. And, oh shit, my contact.
Oh no. Hey, I had an eye exam this morning and they filled my eyes with stinging liquid.
I saw your Instagram.
Yeah, I'm getting glasses.
And then Kevin Smith was obsessed with movies, of course. So I literally was in the front row, right in the middle, and I used to do stand-up for fun there. But I went, and then like halfway through the podcast, and there's some episode, nice. I forget which episode, in like 2012, where at a certain point they're just like, why is the front row giving us porn? Because I literally threw up a copy of the Octomom porn at Ralph and the Dark Knight Rises porn to Kevin, which was very creatively titled The Dark Knight Rises. Nothing else. It was literally just that. It didn't say The Dark Knight Rises, the porn parody. It just said The Dark Knight Rises. I don't know how they didn't get sued.
Brilliant.
But that was my first interaction. And then in that same area, they were filming a Hulu show called Spoilers. And the way you got tickets wasn't like a screening where you first come, first serve or anything. It was like a lottery. And I never won. But
Wow.
every time I knew an episode was coming, I would show up in the line with an extra, like a couple slices of pizza. I'd be like, oh, shit, it's not my cheat day. I fucked up. Does anybody want this? Like, my buddy's coming with tickets. And eventually we'd be sitting out there so long that some kind soul would be like, you know, they're letting us all in, and it doesn't look like your buddy's showing up. He's not answering his phone. Just use my extra ticket.
No.
And I got in 4 times doing that. Every time, I don't know why I thought this was smart, I had my red Amazing Spider-Man t-shirt logo every time because I was like, this would be funny to come back with the same shirt. So there was good and bad. Bad was the 4th time they were like, hey man, you keep coming with the same shirt. You got to change your shirt. So I literally ran to the...
They actually said that? They didn't call you on sneaking in. They called you on wearing the same shirt.
I don't think they knew that I was sneaking in.
Oh.
But, so I literally ran to like the bottom of the hill because on a hill, got like a button up, ran back, but they had already seated everyone, so I didn't get in the episode. But I did end up in a room essentially alone with Stan Lee, and to this day I did not go up and say hi because I was shy about it, and I regret that.
Yeah, it's those moments where you kind of freeze, and you know, until I don't know, I don't know why that happens, but it's hindsight,
like,
right?
I didn't
you grow
want to
into
bother
yourself
him
years later.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you would be confident now, you wouldn't be shy now, but
and as far as I know, he would have been the most generous. Like, everything I've heard, he wouldn't have been like, oh, this guy's bugging me. But here's the good thing. Because I had that shirt, the second time I was there, we're in this waiting area, waiting to be seated after the movie. Because they would bring us to the movie, then bring us into the filming area, talk about it with the guest, and then talk to the to Q&A with people, essentially. And I'm talking with people after the movie. I forget which movie it is. But then Jason Mewes is just like, hey, you were here last week, weren't you? And I got to feel so cool because I literally just walked away up to the stage and talked to him for like half an hour. That was actually before the movie.
Okay.
That was the second time. And then I had gone back to Hollywood Babylon a few times, but I went back to Chicago, moved back. And they went on a road show like they're doing now with Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, except for the Jay and Silent Bob super groovy cartoon movie. Got there, he did a really long story, so I think only 2 people asked a question before they were like, you gotta get out. She's like, oh, bummer. But then I visited back to California and did I asked him on Spoilers, to back up a little bit. The first one I snuck into, he was like, any questions, anything. And I was the first one. I was like, is Rosario Dawson going to be in Clerks 3? This is like 2012. And now they're just about to make it again. And he's like, oh shit. I was like, yeah, he's like, FaceTime. We're going to FaceTime her in, like a joke. And I was like, haha. Fucking tell me. But then, I would visit back, and I did a Hollywood Babylon. I've run into Mark Bernardin, who used to do Fat Man on Batman, but now they called it Fat Man Beyond. I ran into him at the Infinity War movie marathon, which was 30 hours, and I only found out about it. I thought it was the first time I wouldn't be able to do it, but he talked about it. I think I got the last ticket. Met him. I'm in one of the, vlogs about it. And then a month or 2 ago, there was a Clerks 3 reading for the script they're not going to use. And I found out late, and everything was sold out. And I was like, oh, man. I need to find it. And one guy had a ticket, but I was like, I don't have the money. I might have it tomorrow, so I'm going to respond to him tomorrow. And he was like, oh, I already sold it. I was like, fuck. But he was nice enough to give me a heads up about someone else selling it, who was selling 2 tickets. And I was like, hey, man, I'll take 1 ticket if someone else wants the other one. And then within 5 minutes, I was like, what if the only other person who contacts him wants 2 tickets? And I was like, hey, man, I'll take both tickets.
Yes, smart.
So, but it was so late. It was like a week beforehand that no one could go because everyone has real jobs instead of me, Lyft and Uber. And it worked out perfectly because I forget what holiday it was, but the Monday there was no school. And I don't have my daughter on Mondays. So I literally drove there, slept in my car the whole way. It was 2 days. And then saw it and drove back. And it was glorious. And I loved it. And I forgot one thing. I'm going to go grab it.
Okay.
So this was all a charity event for the place he held auditions for Clerks 1. And they had these signed... By the way, the movie is great. I hope they do like a special feature of a script reading after they make the proper Clerks 3. But I got 2 of these, which are, I think they only made like a few hundred.
No way.
But
Awesome.
signed by everyone who read it. And there he did another Q&A. I was like, hey, in 2012 I asked you if Rosario Dawson would be in it, and you said FaceTime. And no spoilers, but she wasn't very present in the 3rd one.
Okay.
And he's
so
like,
her signature is not on that poster.
Oh, she wasn't there for the reading. Of course not. I think she was filming Zombieland. But no, actually, maybe not. But I was like, did you know back then? He's like, oh, yeah, I said FaceTime because I didn't know. I didn't want to say anything. And he thought he was going to make that version. But then that all brings us back to 1 week ago Monday, which was the Chicago showing for the Jay and Silent Bob Reboot Roadshow. And I know this is going long, but this is worth it. This one, I think, because I have video of everything except this part of the story. So we did the roadshow, or saw the movie. It was great. And he told us the new plot of Clerks 3, like just the synopsis. So I'm going to spoil it here, but it's the synopsis. Basically, Clerks 3, you know he had a heart attack, right?
Yeah.
So Randall's going to have a heart attack. And Randall's going to be like, shit, I don't have a kid. I don't have anyone who loves me, or I love them. What am I even doing with my life? And he's going to decide to make a movie in the convenience store, Quick Stop. So he's going to make Clerks.
Oh, brilliant.
And so many of the stories that he's been telling, like when he would have Jason Mewes, and he'd be like, all right, you don't have to act. You'll just be yourself. And Jason Mewes says, why would I say Snoochie Boochies? Snoochie Boochies? He's like, why do you say Snoochie Boochies? Like, he didn't come up with that. He was like, you say Snoochie Boochies? I'm putting that in the script. So there's going to be stuff like that. That's essentially the story. And
I love that.
It was like a good 10-minute thing, and we only had 30 minutes because there was a second showing. They added a second showing because the first showing was the first roadshow stop that sold out. It sold out like that. My buddy Gabe was going to go, but he didn't have money until the next day for payday, and it was sold out in like 2 or 3 hours. But I was the next person, and I saw someone holding up a wrap it up sign, and I'm like, so close. Oh, well. But in true Kevin Smith fashion, he just looks at me and goes, hey, man, you're the last question. Better be a good question because everybody's going to be thinking about what you say. And I'm like, I fucking got this.
Yes.
And I was like, all right, I got something. But first, I got to say, Clerks 2 meant so much to me as the first one. Meant so much to me that when I found out Clerks 3 script reading was happening, I had to buy someone's ticket they were selling. I bought 2 tickets, and I drove there myself. And he's like, holy shit, man, from here? From like Chicago, you drove that? My daughter wouldn't do that. Can I adopt you? I was like, yes. And I didn't mention it, but I should have mentioned that I slept in my car too. But then I was like, okay, so I know that smoking weed for you has been a big thing. Like, he smoked weed with Seth Rogen on Zack and Miri Make a Porno, and it changed his life.
Okay.
That Monday, Chicago was the third place in America to vote to decriminalize magic mushrooms.
Really?
That Monday, they voted.
That is very interesting.
So I said, we just voted to decriminalize magic mushrooms. I did magic mushrooms before the movie. Please do mushrooms next.
You actually was...
Yes.
Brian, you are brilliant. My hat is so off to you right now.
And it's on my phone, which is recording. Let me see if I... And then my iPad's looking to make sure it stays recording, so I don't want to mess this up. But let me find... I'm going to go to Instagram for the rest of the story. This is the post that I didn't want you to see.
Okay.
Oh, it's not connected to the internet. All right, I'll just risk it on the iPad.
I've been very good at staying clear of that post, by the way.
Thank you. All right, so he goes to me. He looks at me. He's like, "Man, what's your name?" And I'm like, "Brian." He said, "No longer. It is Son." And it stopped recording almost right before I started talking, so I couldn't find any video. He's like, "I gotta come," and he gets off stage and comes up to me, and I found this picture of it.
Wow.
And so, someone had like a 10-year-old jersey they had signed. He's like, "Can I come up there and get you a sign?" He didn't get off the stage for that. He wasn't leaving. He got off the stage to give me that big, beautiful hug. Oh, and by the way, he held me in the Dark Knight Rises episode of the Hulu thing. Apparently, I'm the thumbnail. So that was, I knew how good it felt to be held by Kevin Smith. But he got up and just, boom. And luckily, I found someone who took a picture of that. And it's my lock screen. I can't show you now because I'm recording on the phone.
Yeah. That is unreal. So I'm just going to call you Brian Smith from now on. And
Please do.
Yes. I hope Kevin Smith watches this because he'll know how
Kevin,
how much.
If you actually do, I'll watch Clerks 1 again. Don't hold me to that. Let me give it another chance. It might be like it might be like There Will Be Blood. I hated There Will Be Blood. My feelings are much more negative towards There Will Be Blood than Clerks 1, and now I love There Will Be Blood, Kevin. So just give me a chance to watch it again. If he actually watches it, which is not.
So you've only seen Clerks 1 once then?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, that was my very, very long ramble about how I got to that.
That was amazing.
I was like, how would Kevin Smith tell this? As long as possible. But how about
natural born storyteller?
how about you? How did you get introduced to Kevin Smith, and how have you made the biggest mistake of your life and not seen Clerks 2?
Oh, I don't even know how I made that mistake.
I'm kidding about that.
But, I saw Clerks 1 years ago, and there's no grand story that goes behind that or around that. My brother is an avid Kevin Smith fan, and he practically forced me to watch Clerks 1, and it was cool. It was so different than any video I had ever watched up until that point. Like, it's still, to this day, kind of a standalone film, right? It's got so much style to it that a lot of films lack that level of character.
I think you'd be very interested to hear his thoughts about it now, like why it was black and white and stuff.
Yeah?
Well, reason
I'm curious. Tell me.
Well, he said that one review said it's in black and white as if it's emulating the video of the security cameras. He's like, that's good, I'm gonna use that. So he just started saying that as a lie. But the truth was, his DP or whoever was helping, he was like, these are fluorescents and they're shooting on film. He's like, yeah. He's like, this isn't gonna work, everyone's gonna look green under these fluorescents. Like, well, what can we do? He's like, we gotta rent a lighting kit. He's like, how much is that going to be? $2,000. He's like, man, I don't have that. And he spent like 20, 30, I don't know how much money doing it. He's like, I can't afford a lighting kit too. He's like, well, yeah, we could do black and white. And he's like, I forget what movie. Oh, he was like, Citizen Kane was shot in black and white. Mm-hmm. So he did that literally for a money reason. And then it helped because it was cheaper than color film.
That is so cool. Yeah. I love that.
And then everyone loved it a lot more because it was black and white.
Well, yeah, it totally adds to the character. It totally does. And, you know, that is kind of, it goes hand in hand with the film itself because it's just creatively solving a problem. You know, he sidestepped it, he solved it, he made the film better because of it, and that's just all the part of the creative process. And as somebody who, like, I have this really great memory, or several, of just sitting down with my family in the basement in front of our old wooden TV and watching Charlie Chaplin. So that, yeah, nice. That kind of, it brings back
you're 90.
A little bit of those memories too.
Because you're 90 years old.
I am. I think Facebook used to say it'd be like 98 by now.
Universal health care.
Yeah, welcome to Canada.
What have you seen of Kevin Smith? Do you want to like pull up Wikipedia or something and be like all the things you've seen of his, or has it just been Clerks 1?
As far as I know, it's just been Clerks 1.
A few others that are that I think are good, but that you may have seen are Chasing Amy, Zack and Miri Make a Porno, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Jersey Girl.
Oh yeah, I think I saw that.
Strike Back?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Reboot is better. Reboot, I think, is like my second or third favorite. My three favorites are Clerks 2 is definitely number one, no matter what, right now. Nice. And then like Zack and Miri Make a Porno and Jay and Silent Bob Reboot are around like second and third because all three of those have like a lot of heart, like a ton of heart.
Awesome.
While being, as you saw from the Clerks 2 scene that I sent you, being almost morally bankrupt in its humor.
Almost. It was weird that it was in color.
I'm gonna say, like in the BTS, he filmed. That film starts in black and white and then ends in black and white. And he said those were the last things he filmed. And he was like, man, if I knew it would look this beautiful, I'd have made the whole thing in black and white. And having not known that, and that was my first film, and I love how it was in color, I was like, I am glad you did not. Just because I really, I loved it how it was.
Yeah, I do need to see that. And honestly, I have no idea how that slipped by my radar, especially, like, having such a limited, like, I watched Clerks 1. That was so standalone for me, especially not having seen many other, if any, Kevin Smith films. Yeah. And how did I not see 2? I have no idea.
Clerks 2 is great. I love it.
Unless I watch it now and halfway through I'm like, yes, I have seen this before. It's just been too many years.
You would have, that scene that I sent you would have remembered.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
There's no way. All right. So the reason, so for anyone listening or watching, I sent you the scene about, and I'm just gonna bleep this because I don't know how to say it otherwise. But I'm saying it, but I'm bleeping it every time I say it. I'll just bleep the word monkey. But anyone who's seen Clerks 2 knows the scene that starts by Randall saying that they were treated like a couple of porch monkeys. And then eventually he says, like, the N-word when they're like, that's a racial slur against black people. He goes, no, it isn't. The N-word is, except he says it. So my question was, like, I have an opinion on this, but I'd like someone else's opinion. considering a big 5.5 minute scene like that, considering even like years and years ago when Quentin Tarantino did Django Unchained, I think it was either Spike Lee or Spike Jonze, who was like, white people shouldn't say the N-word. Like, he really hates that Quentin Tarantino ever puts that in his movies because he's white. Why do you think no one has ever sneezed the idea of canceling Kevin Smith? Because, like, this was a movie that was, like, 10 years ago. James Gunn got fired off Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 before he got rehired because of tweet jokes that he made. And everyone, like, just even that scene is like a big opportunity for someone to sink their teeth into and be like,
oh yeah,
you racist piece of shit, white guy wanting to, why do you think no one's ever thought that? Or I'm guessing you haven't seen a lot of Kevin Smith interviews, but
no, I haven't. But I think that film came out kind of on the cusp of a big, like, mindset shift that the world is going through, especially today. I think if that film came out today, that would be shot right down, especially with social media. I think that would just blow out of proportion and get very, very aggressive. And to what end, who knows? But I do think that it was timing, but it was also Kevin Smith. I mean, he's well respected. And I think if anybody can get away with that, and a lot comes down to timing too. Maybe when it was released, some other films were just taking, or some other, let's say, debatable issues were taking place that just kind of overshadowed it.
I mean, I'm going to play devil's advocate and point out that, like, those tweets from James Gunn were around the same time, but it became an issue today. And also, like, Harvey Weinstein was a big producer on Clerks 2 and almost every movie that Kevin Smith has done. Besides Jay and Silent Bob, Strike Back, and, of course, Clerks 1. But, like, if anyone wanted to, like, everyone was like, Meryl Streep must have known that Harvey Weinstein was this. Kevin Smith must have known that Harvey Weinstein was doing all this bullshit. And, like, it could have been so easy for them to be like, look, he just goes on and has white people say George and the N-word and all these other slurs and just la-di-da.
And ignorantly several times.
Yeah, like, I remember Chasing Amy has a character who says, it's played by Jason Lee, and he says, all a lesbian needs is to find a good dick. Or get good, or something, and they would be cured.
For some odd reason, that rings a bell. I don't know why.
But I say this because in one of his stand-ups or like a Q&A, a woman has a question and she's lesbian and she's like, I love your movies, but I disagree with that. Like, what the heck? And he had to defend it. He's like, well, I obviously don't believe that, and I figured that because it is in the dumbest character who ever says that, it's supposed to come off as, like, obviously wrong, obviously not true, that no one should believe this. And yet I remember someone in college, my first week before before our classes start, I had heard it through the door and I made friends with him later, but he was playing Clerks 2, and he had like a thing of like knock and come in or whatever. And apparently an African-American kid came in right before the scene I sent to you.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Right before, and didn't see anything
timing.
Else. And he's just like, oh no, this is going to come off wrong. Oh shit. And but then the whole scene happened and the kid laughed. And, like, I've never seen anyone question why is it okay. And I'll come to my opinion, but I'm wondering your perspective. Like, I've never seen anyone question that scene. Like, they question all a lesbian needs is a good which, I mean, I would guess both are topics people would take issues with. And as the movie progresses, he literally tries to take it back. He makes a jersey and puts tape on it that says porch party for life. And then
Really?
yeah, and then an African American like cop goes, porch party. He's like, don't worry, I'm taking it back. But that's the only comment on it. They don't bring it up more. But it doesn't, like, he doesn't say, but yeah.
That's very interesting. I can't even imagine why. I don't know.
So my only, and I really don't want this to like start people saying cancel Kevin Smith, but my only thesis that I can come to that, because I didn't even think of it till like a week ago maybe, when we were definitely going to be talking about it, but I would tell people that Kevin Smith is such a sweet man that whenever he would get excited about someone's question, he would say, yes, bitch. And if it was a woman, you wouldn't care. Like if you said something, I was like, yes, bitch, I'd be like, oh, that doesn't sound right coming from me. It just doesn't. It doesn't sound right for me to say that. But him, he's so pure at heart and such a cuddly, just good man that you're like, wow, that didn't bother me at all. It's weird. Like,
because you know where it's coming from, that intention. Like you can feel it. You can feel intention behind the words.
Yeah. And the other thing that I'm guessing just from that movie, before even like me knowing about Kevin Smith, is that as soon as Randall says it, every other character has a problem with it. It's not like someone saying like people wanting a men's rights activist group, like men's rights, white rights. That kind of thing. It does. Yeah. It's not like I'm putting this in because I think we should be able to say this. As soon as they say it, everyone has a problem, except for like Wanda Sykes' husband. He's like, didn't say it to us, and she immediately hits him. Like she won't take that. The only other person who's like, maybe it's okay, is like, shut the fuck up. Like everyone, and then eventually he comes to the realization that she was racist, like his grandmother, Randall's grandmother.
Yeah. I think he kind of approaches it from both sides, and that could be why people's reactions have been, so to speak, kind of toned down, because it was presented in a more balanced way and more like, hey, there's this side of it, but there's this side of it, and like, where do we stand? And as we move forward, this is a weird concept to just kind of contemplate.
Yeah, and it is, like, objectively, it's weird that it continues past that scene where he tries to take it back. But, like, the only person he calls one in that whole movie is a white kid. And, the fact that everyone always has a problem with it. No one gives him a second. And earlier throughout the movie, there's other less hot topics that people are like, you're a fucking idiot, like you're just dumb, so they like establish it, but then no one thinks it's okay. No one's on his side. He's not even arguing that we should be able to call black people like those names. He's like, no, this shouldn't be a bad word anyway.
Yeah.
Like he never argues that the N-word should be absolved of it. Yeah. He's like, yeah, I agree, I know that. But that was just my guess. I wanted to see someone else's perspective, but I went into that assuming you had seen Clerks 2.
Yes, and thank you for the death stare coming through the video chat right now.
I looked right at your camera.
For everybody listening, Brian's got a good death stare.
I gotta look back at the screen recording to see it if I do.
I will see Clerks 2. I will, because I have to put that the context around that one scene.
Considering that Jay and Silent Bob reboot is going around, I think most of the movies are cheaper on iTunes or on like DVD.
I'll check Netflix as well, because ours is different than yours. Right. Of course, because everything up here is different than that.
I just bought a DVD of Clerks Jay and Silent Bob reboot and Chasing Amy. Or, yeah, Jay and Silent Bob's Strike Back, like one of those $10 3 movie things. So I'm excited to see Clerks 1 again.
Are you? Did you just say that?
I'm excited to see it again and see if I still am whelmed by it. Not
Overwhelmed. I think it's going to hit you differently, and I think you should see it again. Definitely.
I am excited for Clerks 3, and I hope there's color.
I am too. I think it's going to tie it all in very well.
Yes. But yeah.
All of it being the 50% that I've seen so far.
It should be really good. I'm gonna get opening night tickets and or probably, let's be real, the road show. They'll probably do another road show.
Awesome.
The Jay and Silent Bob reboot roadshow has been averaging better per theater revenue than Avengers Endgame.
Wow, really?
As in, like, if Avengers Endgame was in 1,000 theaters and made $25,000 per screen, but Reboot Roadshow was in 10 theaters and made $30,000 per screen. That's per theater, probably because of the Roadshow.
Gotcha.
Yeah. He was like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
But
you see Kevin Smith in person in the future, and you have to get a shirt printed for you that says, I love you, Dad.
I'm going to try to... I know they did it for Reboot, but I'm going to try to somehow be on that set of Clerks 3, if possible. Yes. I hope they film during the summer. Then there might be a chance.
Yeah. Very cool.
But anything else for you? Do you want to say anything else more about Kevin Smith?
No, except for I'm sorry that I haven't seen more of his work. I'm sorry.
Just start with Clerks 2 and Zack and Miri Make a Porno. So.
Yeah, okay. I'll watch those two.
Those two have a lot of heart. And you'll also see Jason Mewes in Full Frontal.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'll start there.
You pervert.
I know.
All right, well, cool. So then we'll get into Kingsman in a little bit, but I want to ask, have you seen any movies lately? I know you've been going through a lot of rehab recently. Mm-hmm. Like something happened? Are you okay?
It's just a continuation of the entire process that I've been going through over the last 8 years. So, last 4 years really, just the rehab process for the neck and the back and the head, and it's just taking it up a level every single time I need to. So yeah, that's good, but it's always the roller coaster, right?
Have you seen any movies lately?
I have actually. We just watched Ant-Man last night.
The first one or the second one?
The first one. I had no. It was the first one, but we had seen Ant-Man and the Wasp before that.
Oh, so you did my Clerks route. You saw the sequel first.
I did. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's see the one with the woman in the title. Like which meal would I like? One with a male lead or one with a male and female lead? This is a tough choice. What'd you think of Ant-Man? What did you think of Ant-Man, especially after seeing Ant-Man and the Wasp first?
Actually, I think it was one of those situations where seeing the second one first, I didn't lose anything. You know, it was a good standalone movie.
Yeah.
And when I went back and saw Ant-Man, it tied everything together, but that was standalone as well, obviously, because it's the first one. And so it laid the groundwork for the second one. It did bring it all together quite well.
Have you seen Captain America Civil War?
No, I haven't.
That's the other movie with Ant-Man, and it might still be on Netflix.
Okay.
Highly recommended. That's my favorite Marvel movie so far.
Wow.
Still.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Deadpools, I am a very big fan of.
MCU movie, should I say. Although I still like Captain America Civil War before Deadpool.
Okay.
A little more. But I do like Deadpool.
Yeah.
So yeah, the day after Reboot Roadshow, I saw Zombieland 2, which also has Rosario Dawson. And she cameoed in Jay and Silent Bob Reboot while shooting Zombieland 2. Like, she came in for like a half day.
Nice.
To do a part.
Yeah.
Have you seen the first Zombieland?
I haven't. I am adamantly opposed to zombie movies because don't roll your eyes at me. Okay,
This is the most I've worked out in weeks.
I'm like, I can't do horror movies. They just sit wrong with me, and that's like for weeks.
It's a comedy.
I won't sleep after like watching. I can't watch the trailers for for horror movies. So zombies freak me right out. I can't do it, and I'm not ashamed to admit that anymore because it's just who I am.
The Zombieland movies are comedies.
I know. I just found this out. But just because of zombie, like I'm not gonna.
You gotta. You should.
I know.
Just watch the trailer.
Craig wants to see it.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see it. Is the second one out yet?
Yeah, it's in theaters.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're gonna see the first one, and then I will let you know if we're gonna see the second
one. Nice. No, it's
if
a great.
I can't sleep that night, I'm gonna keep you up.
If you just watch the trailer, you'll get the vibe perfectly.
Okay.
Or watch the trailer, I guess, for the second one, because I don't know how they marketed the first one, but that second one, they marketed it just perfect.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a comedy. You'll be fine. It's less horrifying than Shaun of the Dead, and that's like...
Okay, that's the one. I have seen Shaun of the Dead, and that was still too creepy for me, because it just...
Yeah,
zombies are freaky.
That one plays with the trope a lot more. This one is... Or in actually being... good at the horror, this one doesn't care about that. It's just yeah, they get real fun with killing zombies. It's not, they're not actually scared of them, essentially. Yeah,
I'll give it a shot.
And I can only think of one scene where like a character's scared of a zombie in the first one, and the second one doesn't have that.
Not at all.
No.
I might make it through.
If you don't, come back and then cry on camera.
It'll be. I will. We're gonna have a zombie podcast episode. I'm inviting myself back on your show.
Nice.
Did you know that Vancouver, BC, where I grew up, they actually have a yearly zombie walk?
I did not know that.
Where people go downtown. Pardon?
I did not know that.
No, they do. I don't know if that's a normal thing for a city or if that's just like unique to Vancouver, but my brother did it once.
What is it?
People dress up in tattered, raggedy clothing and have in some cases, very epic makeup, and they just put this dead look on their face and hang their head, and they saunter slowly through the city. Starting in the subway.
I think we didn't have something like that one year, but I think they had a kind of like zombie tag game where a bunch of like half the people were zombies and half the people weren't, and they had to try to get from one side of the city to another without getting like tagged by a zombie.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Take the zombies out of that and just like have a massive citywide game of tag.
I think they've had that, but...
That's amazing. I want to organize that. My city's too small.
It might go easier. All right, so I just moved into my new place like a week, 2 ago, and my most proud memorabilia of Kingsman is still in my storage unit. But I did find this. This is the trade paperback.
Awesome.
And we're going to get into that, so this is a much quicker story, but I'll say how I got into Kingsman, which was... Yeah. There's a filmmaker from Russia, I think, called Timur Beng something. He did 2 movies in a non-English language. I'm saying that because I really don't want to mess up even more. I may have already messed up that he was Russian. Called Night Watch and Day Watch. which are really fascinating movies. But then he did his first English language movie was Wanted with Angelina Jolie, Morgan Freeman, and James McAvoy.
Okay.
And he's always said that that's kind of his third night watch movie. And so I saw that because I saw Night Watch and Day Watch when Blockbuster still existed, and they had this thing where for $30 a month you could rent 2 films and just keep coming back and exchanging them. So I literally watched like 6 movies in a day.
Nice.
Yeah, I could have been doing something with my life.
Hey, this is what you're passionate about.
But I was like, Wanted, let's go. It's the same filmmaker, let's do it. It looked crazy, and it was great. Also had Chris Pratt in a small part where he gets his teeth knocked out by James McAvoy. It's fantastic. I highly recommend it. But I focus on that because it was based on a comic book, kind of. That script was developed alongside the comic book Wanted by a guy named Mark Miller, who also wrote the Civil War comic book that Captain America Civil War was based on.
Okay.
So he also wrote a comic book called Kick-Ass, which got adapted by the director of Stardust and his writing partner. So I was like, Kick-Ass, let's do this. I was in college, I think, and I saw it like a couple weeks later. I was like, Wanted, same thing, cool beans. And then I cried in the theater of Kick-Ass.
No way.
Yeah, and I think I may have
Love
cried
it.
twice, but spoilers if you haven't seen Kick-Ass. The Nick Cage plays a character named Big Daddy, and he dies in the third act. And I scrolled through Wikipedia to see like the back, like the production notes. I was like, oh, trivia. And the one thing that popped out of the summary was Big Daddy dies. I was like, fuck you. The one sentence. But I still want to get a Kick-Ass tattoo one day. But then that director and writing team didn't come back for Kick-Ass 2, but they did do Kingsman. They did X-Men First Class, and then they dropped out of Days of Future Past to do Kingsman.
Okay.
And it looked like another Kick-Ass movie in terms of tone. So I was super excited. I was so excited I bought out a row of seats for me and my friends to go see it. It was coming out the same weekend as 50 Shades of Grey, which I still haven't seen. And I was like, I was like, no, I'm seeing Kingsman. Like that.
Yeah.
And then I found out like a week before that there were a bunch of screenings. All of them were filled, except for like one in Connecticut and one in Colorado, I think, or something. Both were 14 hours away. And I called up my buddy Christian, and I'm like, hey, Christian, do you want to drive 14 hours to see a free screening of Kingsman? And he's like,
so hardcore, I love it.
And he was like, no, Brian, we're not doing that. I was like, yeah, you're right.
No.
But then I went to my local Office Max where they knew me because I would print out stuff, and they essentially helped me Photoshop the address for the Chicago location on the pass.
No
so
way.
I got a Connecticut one, but changed the address to look as close as possible, and went, and they were taking the passes without scanning them. I was so ready to be like, I don't know why it's not scanning. Look, it looks just like it. They did not do that. I saw it early. I think I was the only one excited. Everyone else was just looking for a free movie. I was like, nah, you don't understand. This is going to be fucking great. You don't know. And I loved it. And then I was like, yes, it will be great. I'm not returning tickets. But then I found out about another screening, and I was like, I'm doing this again. But that second place, then they were scanning it, and the design looked different. Because I still used my original design. It had like this extra barcode or something. Luckily, the guy in front of me like knew some other people in the line, and there was a woman coming who he did not like, who had passes, but he, like would skip the line to be with him to get in to improve her chances. She was running late. He's like, "Hey, if she shows up, I'm saying you're with me, okay?" Because he just didn't want to sit next to her. And I was like, "Yeah, okay, man." Like you could see I got my own passes, but let's just use yours so she doesn't ask like, why are you both using passes. I thought you said he was with you. So I got in that time with his pass. And as soon as we're in the theater, he's like, all right, see you later.
Perfect. You've got horseshoes up your butt.
And then for Kingsman 2, they did this limited... They've always done, like, product tie-ins or whatever, but they had this limited, I think, a little more than 2,000 bottles of this 25-year-old single malt official Kingsman scotch.
No way.
And each bottle new was like $800, but you could only get it resold. So it was like $1,000. And I hunted. I hunted for it. They also had a Statesman's bourbon, which was $60. But I hunted for it. It was almost my birthday, too, I remember. Because I asked a friend of mine who's a lawyer downtown. I was like, do you have a liquor guy? Because I want this. And I went to like a Benny's. I went online everywhere. And he got back to me. He was like, hey, I found one online. It's expensive, though. I can't buy you that for your birthday. I was like, I don't want you to buy it for my birthday. I just need the hookup. I just need to find it. But then I found one online for like $900. And I got it before the movie came out.
Wicked.
And then I got two, this time I didn't have to forge it, but I got 2 passes, so I saw Kingsman 2 twice before the movie came out again.
Oh, awesome.
And then saw it opening day. And then like 2 weeks after the movie came out, a Benny's that I had been searching for that bottle called me and they're like, hey man, we found one of the bottles. Do you still want it? I was like, I don't have the money for that. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, you know what? Let me call you back on Friday. And if I call you back, yes. Yeah. And then I didn't call them back Friday. Because I just had to be responsible. But then like 4 months later, some other guy calls like, hey, I was just calling because we had like your name on this bottle in the back. Do you still want it? And I was like, yes. And I literally have videos of me like unboxing it, but I have these 2 gorgeous like green boxes that like open up and have like this engraved signature, which is like a fake signature, but it's all Kingsman. I'm like, I have 2 out of a little over 2,000 numbered bottles of this official Kingsman Scotch single malt that I have not opened. And there's some in my storage unit. Okay, this is the question.
Are you going to drink this?
I might drink one if it's a special occasion, or like if I can meet Matthew Vaughn and be like, here's my bottles. Sign
or
them,
if
please.
You have, yeah, really.
And yeah. let's drink a little bit on camera.
Kevin Smith over to your living room.
That might be
to watch Clerks together.
I could totally see myself opening one for like special interviews and be like, we're gonna have no, not that much of a shot. But
special glasses too. You got to get special shot glasses for that. They're rock glasses.
Essentially, I've had them for like 2-3 years and not opened them, and I have no solid plans to. But
yeah. It's one of those situations you're going to know when the time is right.
Yeah, I did buy a bottle of the Statesman bourbon, or a couple of them, and opened one of those. Yeah. Yeah. Because $60 is a lot easier to swallow than $1,000.
Is it ever? That's drinkable. I like a good bourbon.
Well, if you can find it, I'm sure you could still find it. They said they wouldn't stop doing it. Like, apparently that's just going to be a staple. I haven't looked, though, in years.
Okay. Well, there's one place in town that they carry a lot of unique liquors and stuff like that, so I could look there, and if they don't have it, they could probably get it. Yeah. If they can't, then I might not be able to get it in Canada.
Canada prices might be $200 for our $60.
Well, yeah, that's plus like $100 in liquor fees and taxes. Jeez. It's a lot up here.
But yeah, I also promised myself I would get my Kingsman tattoos before the next Kingsman movie, and like 6 months ago or a year ago, the director and co-writer announced that they would be making a Kingsman prequel called Kingsman the Great Game. It's now renamed to The Kingsman. That's coming out in February.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and
they're
super
excited.
A Kingsman 3, a Statesman spinoff, and an 8-episode TV show.
No way.
Yeah, which got me really excited. So I'm getting Kingsman logo here, and then a reversed, so I can see it correctly in a mirror, quote of the something like true nobility is not being superior to your fellow man, it's being superior to your former self.
I love that. Yeah.
And maybe the Kingsman logo somewhere here.
Yeah.
But
that's wicked.
Yeah. And originally the King's Man was supposed to come out like this December, and I was like, this is a prequel. These movies make half as much as Deadpool, and Disney just bought them. They're not going to give a shit about these peanuts. Or I was afraid they wouldn't give a shit about the peanuts, but then the King's Man still got greenlit. I was like, yes. But then I was like, oh shit, it's going to be in like December Star Wars. It's going to get crushed. Fuck. And then they were like, we're moving it back 2 months. I was like, yay.
Like, because nothing's happening around that, right?
That's when the first Deadpool released in February. And the first and second Kingsman, I believe. Well, definitely the first one. Released in like February. And it did well. So I was like, it might survive.
Fingers crossed.
I'm literally going to use all my AMC A-list tickets to watch The King's Man. I'm just going to be like, it's going to have $400 more because of my subscription.
I'm super excited for that. And the third one, have they announced when that's coming out yet?
No, but there's a script. Taron Egerton, the main character, the actor who plays Eggsy, said there is a script.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
But how did you come across Kingsman? Your brother again?
No, not my. A lot comes from my brother. 90% of my music choices, but and movies clearly. Just give me 1 sec. The sun is moving.
I see it. Got a lot of white face going on. Hey, it's Melissa without white face. Ow.
So Kingsman was literally just sitting down and Netflixing one night, and it was the choice that my boyfriend and I made, and it actually came around. I think I watched the first one.
Are you talking about Craig?
Yeah, Craig.
Are you engaged or married now?
No.
Oh, never mind.
I call him interchangeably hubby and boyfriend because of that, but it's been 11 years. Come on.
I thought you were saying. At first, I thought you were literally just saying, I call him interchangeably. And I was like, what the fucking weird word to call him.
Us and our weird relationships up here. So yeah, it came around at a time where I was working like 18 hours a day, pretty much 7 days a week, because I was studying for my, I was working on 3 certifications, 2 nutrition and 1 for personal training. And I was working at the time and trying to improve my fitness at the time, going to the gym every day. So it was just like I was exhausted. So a movie to me at that point was a really special thing. It was a huge escape. And we just had a night off, and we chose Kingsman, and I frickin' fell in love with it. Yeah, I love everything about that film.
I assume it was the Secret Service?
Yeah.
Oops, it thought I said Siri. And you said you have seen Kingsman: The Golden Circle?
Yes, yeah. We watched that not too long ago. We both really enjoyed that too.
Nice. All right, so to lead into this next part, what did you think of near the end of Secret Service where Princess Tildy says, if you save the world, we can do it in the apple?
What?
Did it cut out or something?
No.
You remember at the end where she's like, let me out. And he's like, if I let you out, can I get a kiss? I never kissed a princess. She says, if you let me out, I'll give you a lot more than a kiss. And then the Samuel Jackson comes out and is like, we're going to kill you. He's like, sorry, I got to go save the world. And she just stops him and goes, if you save the world, we can do it in the asshole.
Literally?
Yeah. And then he literally comes
that?
At the end, he goes back with a bottle of champagne, and like Mark Strong sees his glasses literally look down at her bare bottom. Before he's like, oh. And that was a big thing that a lot of people were like, what the fuck is this shit? Why were you... What a weird thing, dude. And he was like, every Bond film was like, made puns about how Bond had sex with the woman. And he was like, we felt like it would be giving the woman her agency to be the one to suggest it. But everyone still hated it. I feel like
we're talking about a completely different movie right now. How did I miss that? I was probably asleep.
Okay. What's the plot of Kingsman to you? Let's figure out if we are talking about...
No, it's the same one. I can't... I don't remember that part at all.
Alright, so then... Well, that was going to lead into the second one anyway, because that was the big thing. People were like, that was weird, dude. And he was like,
Yeah.
Like, no, I thought it was fun. But then the second one, what did you think about how... Do you remember the scene at the music festival where they have to put a tracker on the bad guy's girlfriend?
Yeah.
Through the mucous membrane?
Yeah.
Your eyes are telling me that you don't remember it.
No, I totally do. I'm waiting for the next question.
All right. How did they put the tracker on her? You didn't remember the... Okay. All right. Okay. You said you didn't remember that other thing. I'm like, fuck, I'm just... Okay. Well, there was that was like the biggest thing that people didn't like about like another, oh, that's weird thing that people didn't like. But you said you loved everything about it. Why were you as a woman specifically okay with it? Because I know why I'm okay with it, ultimately.
Well, I didn't question it, really. I mean, the debate there... Because it's goofy and
Yeah. Like, Channing Tatum literally the spits on... Was that,
like, he had his strong relationship, right? And that really tested that. And I thought that was where the debate lied. And not, like... Not that. I didn't even bat an eyelid.
No, a lot of people were like, you couldn't track her some other way, and the reason, like, it could have been easy just to put, like, a pin in her coat and been like, well, now we know where she is, but
it was different.
Yeah.
That's what makes it different. Like, you can put a pin on a coat or, like, slip something into a pocket or a purse. You do that in every single spy movie. So why would you do that in yet another?
Yeah.
It's just...
For me, if they did that, it wouldn't have really changed anything or really done anything. But by doing this, it did a lot of things for me, or for the story. It first reinforced that whiskey was kind of gross. Because he goes up, he's like, when are you on? He's like, oh, I'm sorry. I just assumed that... So, and I just rewatched it again today to remind myself, so it is fresh. He's like, I just assumed someone with your charisma must be somebody. And she's just like, oh, gross. Follow my finger? What are we doing? Swiping to the left. You don't have Tinder in America? And like, there's things throughout the movie, like... ginger ale, Halle Berry saying every time she was up to be a statesman, whiskey would vote no. Another like dick move when after he gets brought back from his gunshot wound, he's immediately like kind of a woman like, hey baby, you want to go back to my room? I got a 6-pack and my roommate might be there, but we won't be too loud. And it's like, he's kind of gross, kind of hinting that he would be an antagonist. Yeah. And then it definitely makes Eggsy uncomfortable. Like, he tries to get out of the situation by saying, I'm busting for a pee. And she goes, you could pee on me. He's just like, like, that makes him uncomfortable. He calls, which twists, like, the tension between him and Tildy. That puts... that twists that. Him actually being physical with the... And he almost backs out completely until he sees that she's definitely Golden Circle. He's like, she is part of it. And this might be the only way. And then as soon as the tracker's in, he's like, bye, he's done.
Mm-hmm.
And, presumably he only with his finger.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's what I took from it.
And then it seeds conflict later where the bad guy with the metal arm can get pissed that his girlfriend cheated on him and then blow up the place with the cure, which puts another wrench in their whole plan.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, that when you see that big excessive shot of his hand going down, Taron Egerton personally he was like, I get it, this is Kingsman, but I'm kind of like, I don't want to do this. So that's her real life husband's hand that comes in.
Really?
Yeah. Like, he was like, is there another, like, what can we do? What can we do that's not me doing this? I don't want to. But, like, people like Beyond the Trailer didn't like it. And I actually met her at VidCon a couple years ago. I was like, hey, he wasn't comfortable with that. And I was trying to, like, lead into, like, maybe it's not a big deal. And she's like, yeah, he was even uncomfortable. It's like, nah, there's no changing anybody's mind. Everyone can have their own opinion. It's cool. But, like, it's especially a ridiculous thing because it's like, hey, we're somehow going to put this nano thing in your bloodstream and it'll give us perfect audio. Not just GPS, but perfect audio.
Yeah.
But that was personally mine. I wanted to get someone else's opinion of that because it was such a big, like, that was the main thing. Everyone was like, what? Oh, and also Matthew Vaughn always co-writes with Jane Goldman, or at least he has on Kick-Ass, X-Men First Class, and the first Kingsman, 2 Kingsman movies. Not this prequel for some reason, but, like, he said that he'll come with, like, really crazy ideas, and she'll either be like, cool, or she'll be like, that's too much.
Yeah, I know.
And that got it. Like, literally every scene seems to be doing, like, 5 different things. But yeah, that's why I was like, but it does so many things. It makes it awkward for him.
That's the thing, and that's where I think the beauty lies, because look at where Eggsy came from. He had that rougher past, but this really goes to show that he's refined himself, he stepped into himself, and, like, he is a morally upstanding individual.
Yeah.
And he fully stepped into the role of Kingsman. Like, he is that now.
Yeah, and he used to do, like, he stole that car to be a dick, but then he didn't kill a cat. Like, he could have ran.
Yeah.
And then he didn't tell on his friends when the cops were trying to do it. So he had something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some
and he
things,
couldn't kill his dog in training, right?
Yep. But then this just brought him to 11. But yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I didn't even realize it was a thing.
Yeah. I've slowly started to, like, accept some that is not perfect. Like, I've been, like, on the Kingsman 2 is so great for a long time, and then now I'm like, all right, maybe, like, that second dog didn't need to be part of the third act. It goes a little long, having watched it 30 times. But, like,
Yeah.
a lot of people were like, man, this is a piece of shit, and I like the first one. And I was like, what? I don't regret buying these $2,000 worth of alcohol.
Based on that.
And I got more skin in the game than you, motherfucker.
Yeah, literally pretty soon when you're getting your... See?
That's good.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
no, if I were to pick one, the first one I think is a little bit near and dear to my heart because it was my introduction to Kingsman as it was to everyone's, right? And it was just so eloquent and it's amazing. Like I said in that Instagram message that I sent you, like, it's beautiful. It's beautifully done. And the second one is too, but the first one is just, it hit home.
Yeah, like, and like, I do recognize that the second one is messier. He even said that his first cut was like a very watchable 3 hours 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want that version, but he's like, unless we do CGI on proper, we're not releasing that. And it was like, okay, but if feel free to do that in like 10 years.
I would watch that.
But like the second one, like Julianne Moore being isolated is a little weird. It's not as fun as Samuel L. Jackson since she can't interact with them. And then Channing Tatum's like work schedule changed mid-filming, so he suddenly had to not be very available. And early, someone was like, "Hey, we hear that you have an electric whip," and he's like, "How'd you know that?" Like before he even filmed. So I think he was gonna be Whiskey. He was gonna end up being Whiskey, but then his schedule changed. So they're like, "What are we gonna do?" And for me, it's messy now, but if they show up in like 3, or if they in their Statesman spinoff, then looking back it'll feel a lot easier, I think, for that. But then other people are like, why do you have Halle Berry and why do you have Jeff Bridges, but they're not doing a lot? And I was like, why did they have Michael Caine in a seat the whole fucking first movie? Like, just relax. It's like Batman. You didn't about it in Batman Begins.
Really. And Michael Caine makes whatever part he plays. Yeah. Like, let's just put that out there.
But it's like...
That's what makes it great. I mean, the storyline is wicked. Yeah. And the filming is wicked. Everything is wicked. But the cast is also, like, full on in that movie. Yeah. In both of them.
And they also said, like, they overuse Elton John, which I get, but they always use him for something. Like... Yeah. It was a little overused with him. I get it. Whatever. Looking into the camera when he kicks him is a little excessive, but... And he said, this is my first sequel. I totally get how people could go overboard. I did. But, like, complaining that Jeff Bridges or... Like, after John Wick 3, did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
After that with Halle Berry, if they don't have ginger ale... Or I guess she's Whiskey now. If they don't have her do some crazy action, then they fucked up. Yes. Definitely. Yes. And while I was sore that Roxy got killed in the beginning, I'm like, just bring her back in the third one. Have her have a burned face. Have her be in like an all-women group. Like, I don't know, like the suffragettes. Like just... an all-women secret group, have her be like, I thought you were dead when I went back to Kingsman and it was done, but then I was saved by, but then I found out you just went off without me. So fuck you. So I didn't get back in contact, and I'm in this badass women's group, and we're not the suffragette men, you know? I don't know. If she doesn't come back in the third, I was like, yeah, that's a missed opportunity. You didn't know what the fuck to do with her, so you just killed her. It still was used as like an emotional thing. Like they were sad that their teammates left, but bring Roxy back. Yeah. Just like Han in Fast and Furious. Just bring her back with a burned face.
Yeah. You said that people are complaining about Jeff Bridges. What?
They were just like, why do you have Jeff Bridges if you're not going to use him? And I'm like, it's a sequel that everyone loved. What are you talking about? Do you
not want to see a movie where every cast member
is dope as fuck? Like, he can be cool. Yeah, exactly. And I didn't even realize until like the behind the scenes, but he talks about how his whole character is like an addict who's in control kind of deal. So everything, he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, but he'll like smell a cigar, or he'll take whiskey and then or tequila and go spit it out, or like take tequila and put it on his like brow, where his mustache would be, just so he can smell it. Like he always like dances too close to the fire without getting burned. And I was like, that's a really cool detail. Yeah. I just didn't I get the Channing Tatum thing because he suddenly is just in a freezer for the rest of the movie, but everything else is like cool. Like, just be cool. Just wait.
Yeah. I think so too. I think it's a freaking cool movie. Yeah. Both of them.
That's all I had to really say about it.
Yeah. They're fucking classy.
And honestly, I've enjoyed them and like the Mission Impossible movies a lot more than the Bond movies lately. Like I love Casino Royale.
Okay.
But even Skyfall, I was kind of underwhelmed at the like the third act where it's all like Home Alone. I was like, man, we started out with a 6-minute action sequence on a train with a bulldozer.
That was epic.
And then the movie ended with knife throw. And they're both dead. It was like, okay, that's weird.
I'm not gonna lie, I love that whole group of movies. Daniel Craig Bonds. I love all of them.
Oh man, I did not like Quantum Solace and I hated Spectre. I'm excited for the new one. Spectre was the most boring.
I'm sorry to upset you.
No, it's especially like the last two Mission Impossible movies that have really made me bored of it. Because like, my one critique with Skyfall was it's kind of ended on a whimper. Like it started with this big huge thing and then ended on a whimper, and then Rogue Nation did the same thing but didn't end on a whimper. It started with like this big hanging on the side of a plane sequence.
Yeah.
Which was this big, like, it was the poster, and it was real. And then it ended with everyone running around, like, alleyways, and it was dope. Yeah. They did a great job with it.
It was phenomenal. And
then Sam Mendes came back after Skyfall and did Spectre, and I was so disappointed with that and so bored with it that when Christopher McQuarrie came back for the next Mission Impossible movie, first time a director came back in Mission Impossible, I was like, no, you're going to fuck it up. Rogue Nation was great. You're going to fuck it up. No. And then I saw Fallout, and I was like, it's even better. And
It is. It was fantastic. Oh, nice. Opening
day, 2 Fallout tattoos. And by the way, since I mentioned James Gunn, I have a rehired James Gunn tattoo.
Wow.
Before he got rehired. Which I didn't think was going to happen. But now Christopher McQuarrie is coming back for the next 2. Anyway... it's really Fallout and Rogue Nation that have especially made me disappointed with the last couple Bond movies. Because I was like, fuck you, all the criticisms I had for Skyfall, they did it, but good. How did they do it? I hope this next one's great. I'm also, but if it's not, I'm excited for the next Bond because they already cast it. If you saw Captain Marvel, it was her best friend, the African American female fighter pilot.
I don't remember if I saw that. I don't think so. I'm actually pretty sure I didn't.
Well, she is going to be the next Bond.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah.
That's very cool. When's that coming out?
I don't know. Sometime after this last Daniel Craig one. And I love Daniel Craig. He's my favorite Bond, but
Mine too, yeah.
But I only like Casino Royale.
Has it been decided if he's doing one more Bond after Spectre?
They already filmed it. They did it with who's the director of Yesterday and Sunshine? I'm remembering and he also did 21 Days Later.
Oh, I don't know.
Let me look this up really quick.
I am bad with producers and directors.
No worries. I don't know any producers either. It was directed by Danny Boyle. He did Sunshine.
Okay.
Yeah. But he's a great director of many, many different things that you wouldn't expect. But yeah. Cool. Hopefully it goes out on a good note.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah, and I was really excited because they also had the woman from Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, Sophia. She was in Spectre. She was his presumably wife, who's he went off to marry her and retire or whatever. It's not a good sign that you don't remember.
Yeah, I don't recall.
Basically the Bond girl of Spectre. She was the assassin in Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, she killed Josh Holloway, the guy from Lost, in the beginning of Ghost Protocol.
Yeah.
And then Paula Patton kicked her out of the Burj Khalifa.
The what?
The Burj Khalifa, the really tall building in Abu Dhabi.
Oh, okay.
I may have gotten that wrong, but the one where Tom Cruise is on the outside of the building, and then you also saw in Furious 7 where they drove the car between two buildings. I think.
I have not seen Furious 7.
That may not have been out of the Burj Khalifa, but yeah. Woo.
Cool.
How long have we been filming? This is great.
I don't know. And 1 hour 20.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
I don't know if I have anything else to add, but do you?
I'm going to try and get my hands on some bourbon.
Nice. Statesman, do it. Record yourself doing it.
That's happening.
All right. Well, before we wrap up, where can people find you? And this will sound negative, but why do they want to find you? How do I say that?
I'm on Instagram a lot. I'm at Kelowna Gal. If you Google Kelowna, Canada, it's a
How
very
do you
beautiful
spell
place.
that for people not in Kelowna?
KELOWNAGAL. And you can find me there. I Instagram story almost every day. I have a little bit on YouTube. I'm just getting ready to launch my Dream It Real Igniting Your Inner Coach podcast. That's coming up very soon. I have the first few episodes recorded already. So yeah, that's going to be on YouTube and hopefully iTunes as well. So you can find me anywhere there.
Basically, if you love movies as much as me, you probably have a very unhealthy lifestyle, so you need some health.
Balance. So yeah, I do a lot of mindset work. I'm a trained nutrition coach, but I love the emotional and nitty-gritty side of why we eat the way that we do, why we live the way that we do, and I'm getting ready to deep dive really quick here into the spiritual side of things as well, to round out what makes us human and why we're here, and kind of lift the veil behind positivity and the law of attraction and all that movement that's happening. So
Very cool.
Yeah, that's where I'm coming from.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, cool beans. Well, just to wrap everything up, Kelowna Gal on Instagram, and is it also Kelowna Gal on YouTube?
No, Melissa Lynn Sharp is probably the best way to find me. But if you get lost and you can't find me anywhere else, dreamitreal.ca is the easiest way.
So everyone knows you're Canadian.
Everyone, I know. Between
Cool.
the .ca and the plaid.
Yes. And then if you want more movie stuff, at Movies Are Dope on Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, maybe? I don't know.
Maybe.
Twitter, YouTube, and on Reddit. Someone had that for some reason. So it's Movies Are Dope, so dope. Because I didn't want to put a number.
I like it.
Or Linktree, linktr.ee/Movies Are Dope. Cool beans.
Wicked. Thank you so much for having me on.
Are you kidding me? Thank you. This is awesome. Jeez,
No problem.
We went so long. It was great.
I know. We're going to have a zombie episode too.
Yeah, this is going to take me a month to edit.
Yeah.
Right. Cool beans. And sipping water is apparently the appropriate way to go. Just a big swig of water in the mic.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Or whiskey.
Yes. All right.
Yes.
We'll come back and review The Kingsman. Watch that trailer. It's good.
Yeah. I'll go do that.
There's two of them. I have a prediction. This might be a spoiler, but it's a prediction. There was BTS for the first Kingsman where Matthew Vaughn was talking about, I was really interested in how World War One, a lot of rich aristocrats had sons die in the war. So I just imagine this big group getting together and be like, the government got us into this war we didn't want to get into, maybe we'll be better. And now this one is literally has Ralph Fiennes, Voldemort, and his son being part of the first group of Kingsmen, and I'm like, his son's dying. That's my prediction. It's my only prediction.
Okay. Your only.
But it's a great trailer.
We're gonna see if you're right. I don't know. That sounds like you might be spot on, actually.
That's the only one I was like, oh, it is in World War One. And they are rich. He's like the Dutch of something. I don't know.
Yeah, nice.
The Dutch?
Well,
he's the Duke of something.
Come on, get your terminology.
He's
right.
the Dutch of something. What the fuck? All right, cool.
Sign of the times we live in.
Yes. All right, I'm gonna stop recording and then say goodbye to you.
Okay. Does your shirt say Wubba Lubba?